Roundy round, roundy round, roundy round and round we go. And here we go to the live stream on YouTube. This
All
is
right.
intermission transmission for Perk
All
Radio
right.
with
We're
me,
on. I see us. So there you go.
on, and
We are
Earl
indeed
Anderson.
on, kids. Earl Grey
Grey.
Anderson. You got to kick the gray in there. Half my audience
Well,
won't know who you're
you know,
talking
you know
about.
all about that Gray.
It's a pseudonym too. That's the sad thing. My parents didn't name me Earl Grey Anderson. It was, but the Grey thing, that was a musician name from back in the 1980s. When if you were a cool musician, you had a pseudonym, right? And so it was. I just figured, well, I play a lot of coffee houses, and every coffee house has Earl Grey tea on the menu, and so I get free advertising everywhere.
I roadied for a rock band back in the late '60s.
I'm
They were
sorry,
named
you did, huh?
Morley Gray.
Oh my goodness, that wasn't me. That was not me.
This was in Ohio. So unless you from Ohio.
No, I'm not.
No?
I love Ohio, but I'm not from Ohio. That's what MUFON headquarters is in Ohio again now. It's Hangar One. You remember the TV show Hangar One?
Oh yeah,
and that was a real place, but it was not.
I remember Hangar 18.
Hangar 18. Hey, I've got a sculpture right behind me of Hangar 18 right up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can see the little alien breaking in.
I'm not seeing it on.
Yeah, that's a Roger Phillips cartoon, The Gray Zone. He actually did some sculptures, and I got one of them. It's signed and numbered. But anyway.
Charles, I don't see it on Facebook yet. I was going to stream Facebook.
I got to stream it on my page. You guys are slow, man.
Ron's been having issues. Everything else seems to be.
I'm just trying to get our numbers to grow. Just trying to get
people
to see us and see what we're doing. And if you're telling a story, I want everybody to see it.
Me too.
And
we don't even want to mention yet that it's Ron's birthday.
That's right.
Ronald's birthday tonight. It's like, happy birthday.
There you go. You can sing
we can sing that and not get sued for royalties now.
We have to settle down because Maria will be here.
Okay.
There's Maria.
Hello.
Hey,
hello. Ooh,
Maria,
the voice from the heavens.
We have to
We're suddenly in landscape mode. That's better. But I had it all
Voice
set
from
for
the heavens.
other
I have never heard that before.
Hey, I'm trying to get the Facebook live feed going. I don't see it over there. I thought Charles had that link set to stream on.
Well, nobody joins on Facebook anyway, so
It's on my page. You might get a couple people from my page, but we'll see. I'm always pushing silly Facebook.
All right. Well,
I'm too old to push Instagram, and I'm trying to get into Instagram, but
TikTok, you want TikTok?
TikTok.
Yeah, I'm in TikTok. Yeah,
you're in TikTok land. Oh my God, you're a millennial, or at least. My goodness. He has Methuselah's disease, folks. I gotta go like this.
That platform and just never come out. It would be like a black hole. Disappear.
Lord have mercy.
Twitter does that to me.
I don't think I've ever
punch up something on Twitter to look up something, and I look up and I've been there for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Chasing nothing.
My friend Brian, Total Brian, he has a show on Monday night on ERRT Radio, and he does it on his own show, but on his own station, but he'll stream it over on the Mixler. And so anyway, he always sends me these TikTok little short things about these crazy, silly stuff. Just like, why would you even do that kind of thing? But that's gotta make you laugh. But then you scroll and you go to the next one, you laugh at it, you like it, you follow them or whatever because you like what they're sharing. And then you just keep about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, you're like, Wait, what was I supposed to do?
Exactly. That's all I do. I sort of like I look at Twitter, okay, and I
Yeah.
will do I'll do like a little
Yeah.
secret tweet here now and then, but it's like no, I'm not really there, folks. I'm not,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I really like the Beatles Get Back thing, but it's not. Don't
Yeah.
notice I'm on here, So Facebook is still all I'm really doing, but I am on Instagram, but I'm not really using it, and I should be. But TikTok, or I mean, you're not on Twitch or anything, right?
I do have my,
No.
I don't use. I don't
Oh God. No, I
TikTok.
have like a friend who's a sort of an aging gentleman who likes other gentlemen who's on Twitch, and I hear about
Oh no.
yeah, but I'm not not on. I don't do that. You get sort of interesting picks. We won't talk about what kind of pick, but it sort of rhymes with pick, right?
Right.
Yeah, if you're on Twitch, but anyhow, but Facebook is about all I can really do that, and I have that, and I can do my work at MUFON, and I'm probably going to be okay. But if I get another social platform, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'll have to clone myself. I
Instagram
really
is
will.
easy.
Yeah.
Just
You can follow me. I put lots of smart ass stuff up.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
I mean, I usually get my funny cat videos and dog videos and stuff from. I have a couple of friends that email those to me, and they'll and then they regular. My friend Maddie Tobias, who's another ERT member, another MUFON Experience or Resource Team member, is always sending me the funny dog videos, the funny cat videos, the funny aging videos, the fun, and so I always get those. And so it's sort of like, well, it sort of precludes me the necessity for any other, Instagram or clever, funny, posts from people. Maddie takes care of me. Maddie and a couple of other of my friends. So
There you go.
yeah.
You could do. I've seen some people do their guitar on the Facebook, and stuff like that. They have their
Sure.
live streaming of their music that they play. If you have your own stuff that you're willing to share and you put out there, you don't have to worry about somebody trying to steal it or whatever. That's a good way to get your
Oh
gift,
yeah.
Well,
a lot of people that especially original musicians that do their own music, they've been ruined by this COVID mess. It closed down all the little venues that we used to frequent and play at. So it is really a good, you can busk on Facebook, or I think you can do it on Instagram as well. But Facebook, I see the Facebook Live stuff a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And that's certainly a way to do it. It's also a way to do sort of like an easy peasy podcast, I guess. I know people that do that as well too. So, it's a good platform if you use it. It's not perfect. We know that. We know that it's not perfect.
We kind of take what we can get out of it, and hopefully we'll do something positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The negative stuff, I just like don't need that.
I try to give people time to share their thoughts and their gifts and things like that, and I'll play other people's shows. I don't know if you notice that. Like I'll do archive shows of Into the Outer Realms with Joey and Tanya Medea.
Good for you.
We actually got to meet them. Me and Charles and I got to meet them in person, and a super nice couple. Nothing like what you see them on the. They're totally different in person. They're nice. Don't get me wrong. When you meet somebody in person, it is totally different. When you meet them in person, compared to seeing them on the video, whatever.
Sure.
Like Maria would probably scare me if I met her in person. She'd probably frighten me. I'd have to sit in the corner someplace and wait. And then
I would make you behave.
Yeah.
Oh, your dog's pretty.
Correct the whip.
Gotta have those stilettos on too.
My goodness gracious.
What I do is I stream Into the Outer Realms archive show, which we call Into the Outer Realms Revisited, on Wednesday night And then after that, I streamed the Three Beards Archive podcast.
Hmm.
So, which I like
That's
to
very
very
cool.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
so,
there's so many egos in ufology, and people are all at each other's throats. Do you notice that? I mean, it's just so sad and so upsetting. It's like, I don't expect everybody to agree with everything that I say. If you disagree with something, put that aside, and maybe you'll find something else that you like, right? I mean, that's the way I am with people.
I'm trying to connect people together. As a community, as I always said in the beginning, I said this is a community, not a competition.
Absolutely.
And that just means that, we have an opportunity to get our message out. And if we work together, we can get it out there a lot better,
Yes, absolutely. It's just, who needs Philip Class? We're, like debunking each other. It's just like so crazy anymore. Everybody's sort of like for themselves, and there's just so much cantankerousness and boy, oh boy, I'm trying to change that personally. I mean, I'm really trying to push acceptance of others up there.
Have you ever done sales work?
What was that, Ron? I'm sorry.
Have you ever done sales work?
I've never done sales work, actually. No.
Yeah, see, I tried the vacuum sales. That's hard. That's really hard. I was trying in the 70s, in the late 70s. Who had money then, right? In the late 70s, you're trying to sell a vacuum. Do you remember the rainbow vacuum?
I'm not sure, but
it was like your original wet dry vac, but it was like a chrome.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Really expensive. Very expensive.
Yeah.
I can't remember who actually did the name brand that it was, but anyway, it was one of the big fancy name brand, huge big names. I can't remember which one now, but it looked really fancy, and you'd carry that thing around to door, and try to sell it to the housewife that was in it.
Sure.
Nobody wanted to pay $1,200 for this thing.
When you could buy it, this was in days when you could buy a car for 22.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, you had to talk about how much the monthly payment, how small that was going to be. And emphasize that, right?
Monthly payment setup. I also tried to sell the Mason shoes, out of the catalog. Mason shoes. That didn't go over too well. Now, if I was doing it now, I probably would do pretty well now. But at that time, that wasn't the thing to order shoes from the catalog. That just wasn't the thing to do. But now I could see that might actually be something that we could do.
Yeah. So now, how does that fit in? I'm trying to see how that segued into what we were talking about. How so many ufologists are each other's necks anymore.
I get you out. How to fit
you're selling
the word of mouth. The word of mouth.
Yeah.
Word of mouth.
Oh yeah.
And connecting each other with the word of mouth, and we don't have to agree on everything that we talk about.
No. You're never going to agree with everybody in this field, because it's not like there's a UFO Bible out there, is there?
But the main thing is
there isn't.
Listen, to listen and try to understand what that person have the compassion to understand what that person's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if there were a program, like a university program, where you could go through and get a doctorate in ufology, I don't think I'd find this anywhere near as much interesting as I do in the open world.
Okay, now hold on one second. Do you know I'm actually teaching? I teach a ufology class at an accredited college in Los Angeles, only in LA. But at Otis University of Art and Design, I started last week. Was the first class of this semester. Next week I'll be the first class. We were still using the Zoom platform, but I'm actually going on campus next Tuesday, and I'm going to be doing my PowerPoint presentation. It's like a 2-hour PowerPoint, but it's a good PowerPoint presentation though. I don't know. People tend to think that it is too short at hours, is what I've been told. No, but yeah, you'll get credited for that class.
A very good introductory in 2 hours.
And you can use PowerPoint with this platform here.
Oh yeah, sure. You
So,
can use it on everything anymore. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love doing PowerPoint. It's
there
better
is
than
a-
just
Color
looking
me,
at this
please.
guy.
Color me pleased and impressed.
there is a whiteboard option on here. I don't know where it is.
Oh yeah.
But I think where I was getting at was the whole field in itself is so large and so broad.
Yes, it sure is.
And I don't think I would like it if it were if all we were allowed to look at was flying saucers.
Oh no, that's just like one little tiny bit of this phenomenon.
Fragment,
Yeah.
looking at it through the telescope.
I mean, you know what the new flying saucer looks like? The new flying saucer looks more like this, right? It's the black triangle. That's like the ubiquitous object nowadays that everybody sees.
Had somebody tell me that they were practically ready to put those on the production line.
Yeah, I want one. I want one with a little I want like the little racing stripes and stuff on mine. Little flames.
I'd be happy just a few chunks of it to see what it's made of,
Yeah.
But,
titanium, I'm guessing. I have a friend who has hovered over. He and his father. Now, this friend of mine is not a UFO guy. He is he's an aerospace engineer. He's currently he works as that. He does very well at that job. And he was in a convertible. I guess it was his new car. He was showing it off to his dad, and they were driving past LAX, the airport out here. And they were flown over by a black triangle. He said it was like 30 feet across. It had the 3 lights on each end and the red light in the middle. And he said it was just like nobody's business. It didn't make a sound. It was just like boom. And it flew right over them, and it was headed towards the ocean, Catalina Island, probably. It's where everything seems to be headed out to anymore. But so I asked him, I said, well, what did that make you think like? And he said, well, that we definitely have black budgets. And it looks like we probably have figured out anti-gravity, to a certain extent. It might have been powered by a nuclear power core, and that it was using the partially perhaps
we don't
partially
Earl,
like
it could be
hydrogen.
It could be powered by a 9-volt battery. And
we don't know.
Seriously, because we have no idea.
We don't know. He told me, if you give me a team and a budget, I'll whip one out for you in a couple months. And that was his comment. And I love that comment. I want to get him a team and a budget because I want one.
All I ask for, this is my new thing. All I want is a quantum crowbar.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to grab that 5th dimension and be able to lever it aside just a little bit.
I love it.
That's all I want is a quantum
God,
crowbar.
can I use that? I love that term. I've never heard that. A quantum crowbar. That's wonderful. I love that. Yeah.
I just want to be able to kind of tweak the mass just a little bit, bend that side of space.
Sure.
So it's a little harder, and not so bendy. So we can just slide right past that.
Yeah. Well, there's people apparently that can do that. It's there are people that I have heard that have the gift of opening up portals and stuff. I mean, there are those that work for certain American Indian tribes at their rituals that supposedly can do this. So
once we can do that, you don't need megavolts. You don't need a nuclear power source. Equivalent of an aircraft carrier. It might just take a 9-volt transistor radio battery.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah. Yes, we want to see the next generation of power sources, and I think that they're out there. But it's not being shared with the public yet. It's all still locked up in the black projects, as Ben Rich from Lockheed Skunk Works expressed. He said we have the ability to take ET home, but it's not going to be shared with the public because it's all locked up in our black projects, and I think that's where a lot of it goes. Unfortunately, the military gets too much of that stuff. It should go out to help the common person on the street, but we know it isn't that way, though, is it? Unfortunately, priorities are wrong. Too much goes towards war machines and towards threat assessment and that kind of attitude. It puts everything on a very negative platform, I think, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
I think that too.
Yeah.
Because if these avenues were out there for everybody, why would we fight over different colored rocks here on this planet, on this little dust mote in the universe, if this stuff opened it up and the whole damn thing were out there, spread out there for us?
Yeah.
It would make no sense.
Well, we want the 0 point energy thing to be shared with the public, and I think that they have that, but they're not sharing yet. Maybe we'll see it. We'll maybe see it in our lifetimes, but I don't know.
I'm not in a place or a situation where I would think that there are enough like-minded people out there that understand that if this stuff became acceptable to the general public, I think that somebody would manage somehow to just leak it. Just sneak a quantum crowbar out the back door.
I think some of that's going on. I think we are seeing some of that.
That would be so
We're seeing the gates being pried open a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that with Elizondo, and we saw that with Louis Elizondo and the Tic Tac UFO and all that stuff that came out. And there are worlds of information that came out with that. So much more. I mean, if you talk with Kevin Day, just get him talking, there's stuff that the public doesn't even know about that whole situation that we had, east of Catalina Island. Hello there, Jesse.
Hey, how's it going? Long time no see.
Captain, my captain. It's been about a week, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Happy birthday, Ron.
Hey, thank you, Jesse.
Yeah.
You got it.
Happy birthday.
How you doing, Charles? Maria?
Hello.
Get everyone singing.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ronald. We're going to do it like the Saturday Night Live thing, like the lounge singer. Happy birthday.
Need to sing it like Marilyn Monroe.
I can't do that. I don't look good in drag,
Oh, no.
I imagine.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We've got to try this.
I will. We'll let the sea monster.
We'll
We'll
get
let
the-
Cecil
we'll
the seasick sea
We'll get to
monster.
make that shit out.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy anomalous birthday, Ronald, from this cryptid. Happy birthday to you.
Let me get a bass note from Bigfoot.
Venus just made a comment in the chat that said, y'all need to shut the F up and let Maria sing that.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I don't think anybody wants to hear me
That's
sing.
good. She does look the part, though. That's better.
Oh, yeah.
And she was talking about stilettos earlier, so that is even more so
I have my stilettos and a whip.
apropos.
Just saying.
Oh my God, Lord have mercy! It's Betty Page.
Yeah, Andy Morrow has a graphic of her. She's in her Catwoman outfit with the.
Oh, I love it.
Oh man!
All right.
Andy's a mess.
What have I stepped into? This is talk about different dimensions.
See, there are some weird things that go on flyover country.
So
I'm
now,
close
do
to
you think
Mammoth
that-
Cave, so
And do you think that the UFOs can change, or that they can input visions in your mind to make you think you're looking at something different. Like there's so
Yeah.
many things where people see, oh, it changed shape or it changed color or it changed what, now is that just something they're putting a message into the mind?
Yeah, but although I don't know, I have a friend in Australia that got a video of it. It originally looked like it had a different shape, almost like a cigar shape, and then this thing turned into a saucer shape with a little cupola on top. And he has a video. It's not really the guy that got the video. He's known as a debunker, so he didn't want to put it out there. I mean, I've shown the photograph, I took some screenshots of it, and people seem to be pretty impressed with it. But that was not in his mind. That thing that was on video, and it actually changed shape. So,
Yeah.
and shape changing aliens is kind of the thing. That's the hot thing right now.
Yeah. I'm
the
actually working on
skinwalkers at the Pentagon book and everything. Well, that's that's a thing. And there's a lot of reports of it. I hear personal anecdotes.
Could that not be equated to the skinwalker?
The person who they called the skinwalker at Bigelow's old ranch is not a classic skinwalker. They actually brought her to the site. It wasn't like she was some local, Native American person that had become a witch and could change shape. This was, as far as I have been told and what I know, it was an entity that has that particular ability, and they brought her to the ranch to see if they could get things going at the ranch, because the ranch did have this history, but it was sporadic, and that was, I think, their main thing, is that they went there trying to disturb the universe, and they were successful, but they didn't they didn't get very positive results, though. They got, like, it was sort of like a spook show, like Stephen King or something.
Yeah, I'm all for
what
that.
you bring to the table, people. Be careful what you bring. If you go there and you go there with the attitude of, well, I'm going to aggravate the ETs. I'm going to go and see what I can poke at. Well, don't be surprised if you get something negative back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People don't realize that when you want to deal with the paranormal, you're going to deal with the paranormal, whether you like the outcome or not.
If you have respect and you radiate kindness and love in your own life, well, you're going to get more results back that are sort of like that. It's just the classic example of karma, or reaping what you sow. There's a reason why that's a meme in human history that goes back, So I think that respect and kindness, and plus, we don't want to start an interstellar war, do we? We don't want to go there. We think something, is going on here that's, high technology and maybe interplanetary or interdimensional, and we're going to poke at it with a stick.
Yeah.
No wonder you're going to get negative results from that. It's my whole attitude with Skinwalker Ranch in a nutshell. And I dare anybody to prove me wrong, because I've really looked into it. I know the people, and I talk with certain people daily, actually. And what I've found is, just not negative entities, not negative stuff, but what was negative was the way that it was being prodded at and pursued in a militaristic way. And they wanted to weaponize whatever they found. And so whatever entities they were attracting were well aware of that. You can't lie to something that's telepathic.
Yeah.
And they were going in there acting like they were doing one thing, but they were certainly looking to weaponize whatever technology they were able to uncover, and not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Interesting. Huh.
Well, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. And I do more of the paranormal stuff than I do UFO. It's all together.
Yeah.
You can't really separate it. But you, like you said, you have to go in there with respect. You can't poke the bear, as you can say. because the results that you're going to get is nothing that you want. And non-believers a lot of times can go to paranormal places and get an experience, but then they spend their life explaining it away. And I think a lot of people that witness UFOs, aliens, whatever, they do that. And like with MUFON, there's still a lot of people that don't know that MUFON is a thing. And that kind of blows my mind.
You know that I am the state director of California for MUFON. So, but we're not fake. But you know what? MUFON has a large tent with a lot of people in it, and we don't send everybody that doesn't agree with this or that or the other thing. So we wind up with kind of a fruit salad of people in MUFON, and sometimes the results are less than you would like to see. You'd like to see something more positive going on there, or you'd like to see, more harmonious action between people. But it's a big tent. I don't know how else to really. I don't know how else to really do it fairly. I mean, if we go and we set rules, well, this is the way. The everything is going to be positive, or it's all negative. It's demons, not ETs, or it's ETs, nothing to do with the paranormal. You're going to lose most of your people. That's the thing with ufology. It's just such open ground with so many different mindsets in here. So no, I don't believe that MUFON is a fake or a fraud, but it certainly but there are things about it that I hope that time will change. I hope that there will be more shared with the public than is. I would like to see more resource rather than just research. We recently changed the name of the ERRT to the resource team, right? The experiencer resource team, because that was mostly what we were doing. And there's kind of a hard line out there that wants us to be more of a data gathering group. And sadly, I think that's going to mess up the ERRT. I hope not, but we'll see. We'll see.
It may not.
I don't agree with everything at MUFON. I don't, and I'm state director for California, but I also don't down talk them because I think that they're the best that we have. I don't think that, nobody else will give you a caseload. Right. If I go to any other UFO investigatory group, I'm not going to get the cases that I get through MUFON. People know about MUFON. And I have a wonderful team of field investigators. I have, 2 private investigators. One's a police detective. I have an astrophysicist. I have a woman that worked at JPL on the Galileo mission and other missions like that. But everybody has an open mind as well, and we have our unknowns. It's not like just checking off the IFOs. We have some real popping, what I believe are interstellar visitors, or interdimensional and interstellar visitors. So anyway, sorry, you got me talking, Maria. I didn't mean to.
You're fine.
You're talking about my baby there, honey.
What do you think?
I have talked with people because I deal with the paranormal investigations, and I've had people tell me about UFOs that they've seen or they thought they've seen, and I've asked them if they have filed a report with MUFON, and they didn't even have a clue what MUFON was. So that was a big thing with me. But now I was the assistant state director for Louisiana. I've been with Kentucky, with Washington, D.C., Florida. I did the international CAG until we got all those cases cleaned up. And then I was with CAG for a little while. And then I didn't like the way MUFON was turning, so I kind of stepped away for a while. Plus, I had a lot of other things I had to deal with at that time, and MUFON was not my priority. So
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
I may get back into it.
We'd love to have you back. And I'm of the attitude of stick in there and let's change it from within. That's what I want to do. That's what I am doing, is I'm really, really trying to push, I feel like I've the philosophy that we have here in Southern California for our investigations seems to be working. We're getting results, and so I'm kind of trying to change things from within. But that's me.
There's a question out there
Yes.
on YouTube. Oh, thank you, Charles. There it is.
Thank you for the nice comment. And yes, California, we are the hot spot where there are more cases that come into California than anywhere else in the world. And that's a regular thing. It's not just like, a sporadic thing. It's ET likes the sunshine and palm trees. What I would do to improve MUFON and keep it relevant is for one thing, is I'm really pushing to get younger field investigators. I'm trying to push to get for us to have more diversity in our ranks. I'm trying to push for us to not have set ideas that are set in stone about the phenomenon. That you need to keep an open mind, very, very open mind with the research in here. Now you want to hold on to the science. The science is damn important, and that's a part of our creed. Is the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humankind. But along with science, you have to remember that any technology, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And just because it seems like magic or something kooky up front doesn't mean that it's not scientific. It just means that our science hasn't caught up with it yet necessarily. So if somebody goes and reports that they had, guys come into their room with giant see-through space helmets and silver suits and that they came through the wall or something, and I want you to take that seriously, because people, we have markers in our investigations, and as crazy as it sounds, we have some important cases where people come through the walls, that look like astronauts even, and so you don't throw away the crazier cases are the good ones. Now, sometimes they're just crazy cases. Sometimes somebody just got some bad LSD, came back from the party too early and they saw, their ceiling fan turned into a flying saucer, right? But sometimes I'll get, a doctor or a aerospace engineer that sees something completely nuts. And you have to stop and you have to take that seriously and look at it. And when you get another case, say 3 years later, like I got a case today where it mirrors a case that I had 2 years ago that I almost threw away. I thought that it was just too ridiculous. And then I heard almost the exact same thing, but from a totally different, it was a military base case. And the other one was too. And it had to do with a DoorDash food delivery person who came to the guard station at a military base, and they were met by something that looked like an alien that took the food, and it was like they felt like their reactions were being gauged. Now that sounds nuts, and I had never heard anything like that before. 2 years ago, I had a case come in like that, and I took it seriously. Now today, I've got another case that's exactly the same, but a different. This happened in Nevada. It was an ERRT case that came in. So it was actually not from California. Same story, different entity, different reaction. The other person got angry and was combative, was trying to protect himself against this thing that looked scary. The case I got in today, this woman, she just tried to ignore what it looked like and tried to give the food and get the payment and leave. And she did her damnedest to not become afraid. And the thing that was observing her seemed disappointed with the reaction it got. It's almost like it was hoping for this fear thing, a military base again. I was saying earlier how the military cases seem to have sort of a little darker edge to them. But that the initial case, if I was going by nuts and bolts ufology, I would have thrown that out. I would have considered it completely nuts, and I would have laughed at the person. But no, I treated them with respect. And here we go. 2 years later, I have the same damn case happen, different military base, but same thing. So you got to figure something was going on there,
So now, do you think that like here they say that I don't believe in the evolution of things, but just for the sake of argument, they said that we evolved, through time, and we wound up being here in this form. Do you think that other life species, like aliens, for instance, I'm going to say aliens. I don't think they're fallen angels. I don't think they're demons.
Yeah.
But I think that God, because He's such a great God that He can create anything. I say God in relative sense, so we understand
Mhm.
what I'm talking about. I don't mean to be religious or convince anyone of anything, just to be simplicity about the subject. But God created life all over the universe, all over what we should say is space. There's life out there everywhere. Okay, and how He created He might have created several thousand different worlds. Uh, Human type beings.
Mhm.
Aliens that we're seeing now, the grays, the big eyes, whatever. That somehow we think that they're evil, but that's just because we don't understand them.
Yeah.
You know.
We think people are evil because they hold a different philosophy or religion than we do, or they have a different skin color, or, I mean, we're so quick to judge.
Yeah.
Humans, unfortunately, there's this xenophobic strand that's in our DNA apparently, and we need to get rid of that, because if we're to deal with other cultures, like Star Trek, if you want to be like Star Trek, you're going to have to get used to intelligences that look like a praying mantises and such, because that's the norm out there.
Oh
And
yeah.
Jesse, what do you think? I want to hear Jesse's
Yeah.
opinion
Just
on
about, I don't know what's visiting.
Yeah, is there do you think there's multiple forms of life that take different shapes other than just the bipedal human form?
Absolutely. I believe
Mhm.
that there's orbs that are actual beings themselves. I've seen that in many cases. I'm working on one now. The lady sent a bunch of photos, and she caught this clip by clip, and you can see the object forming and transforming right before her eyes, and in the video as well. So I definitely believe these beings take on that kind of light or view. I've seen them go through. I've seen photos of them coming through walls, videos flying through her home. So I definitely believe they can take that form on, and many other forms, humanoid
Yes.
forms, insectoids. I mean, there's the extraterrestrial species almanac that I think he has like 80 some different species in it. I think there's transdimensional beings.
Yes.
There's beings in a different, they say space and time is all going on at once, and maybe there's a different life form in another time, but at the yeah, it gets deep. You can go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely believe there's multiple different life forms.
I do too.
Good.
And I'm not a I'm and I'm not a I'm not an atheist. I believe that there's a prime mover. I believe in a prime mover, that there's, a supreme being that kind of started all of this. And so, I don't disbelieve in evolution, but I feel like God has ways of creating and doing things over long periods of time, because that's the one thing that the universe has. When you look into a telescope, you're looking back in time, and you can look
Right.
back billions of years through a telescope.
Mhm.
So, our current reality has been a reality for a long, long time. There's time enough for evolution to take place, and there's time there's absolutely the hand of a creator in there. There's room for that as well. I pray, I actually pray, and I feel led sometimes, by God, I think, in this field. You'd be
Absolutely.
surprised how many people tell me that, how many people in MUFON are Christians or are, different, and that's not the only way to look at God. And I believe that God has many mansions and many faces is my
Right.
personal belief. But that's the way that I relate through him.
You know,
I think when we eventually make contact with these others that we're probably making contact with already,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's probably an essence of a shared consciousness. Okay.
Yeah.
That all intelligent beings are going to have some
Yes.
share in that reality, you know, or their own side of that reality.
They call it the collective consciousness,
Yes.
and Joseph
I'm
Campbell,
pretty
Hero with a
well-
Thousand Faces, and all
I'm
that.
pretty well convinced
Yeah.
that exists, you know.
Me too.
And
yes.
you were talking about your shape changers, you know.
Mm.
There's been quite a bit done with dimensional realities. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hyperspheres, hypercubes,
Yes.
you know. Is it a circle? Right?
Mm.
Is it a circle or is it a cylinder? You know, which is it, right?
I love it.
know, it's
a beautiful
It's
example.
really that
Yes.
simple. You know,
It is that simple.
Which one is it? Well, it could be both.
Mm.
Just
Jacques Vallée.
from one step higher in the dimensionality that we normally don't use,
Yes.
aren't access to.
Jacques Vallée tells a story. My friend Greg Bishop heard him speak about this and has a photo of the photo. But there's a pilot that saw like a proverbial flying saucer with a little cupola on top, just zipping along like nobody's business below his 737. And he had a Polaroid camera. He went and he took a photograph of this thing from the cockpit. Kept on flying in, and they were coming in for a landing. I believe he didn't have time to look at the photo until they had actually landed. And once they landed, he looks at this Polaroid picture, and yes, there was an anomalous object there that was flying next to him, but it was not a flying saucer. It looked like a 6-pointed stylized star made out of some metallic material that was flying next to them. So what you see with your own eyes isn't always what the object necessarily is either.
Absolutely.
A lot of it is perception, and it's the perception that we are given by our visitors, I think.
Right.
They control the show, the projector and everything else, I think.
Right. I had a case very early on, a gentleman, my first guest actually on my podcast. He came on and he told me a story, and he's following this craft down a highway, and to him it looks completely like it's a cylinder, and he follows it, and then when it goes to turn and take off, it completely changed and it looked like a saucer shape flying away. So it's like, the perception,
Yep.
So I agree.
Yeah. I had a sighting that felt like it was a teachable moment, because I felt like they were in control afterwards, because I didn't grab for my phone. I mean, it was like I would have had the smoking gun photo, or the video. But as many people know, when you wind up in that situation, they're in control, and you don't even remember that there's such a thing as your iPhone sitting in your pocket.
Right.
But this thing looked like it was maybe the size of a B-1 bomber, maybe, and I'm coming up onto it, and I get closer and closer to it. And by the time I was maybe 50 feet away from it, it had changed in perspective. It had foreshortened. It had sort of become crunched up looking. And now it looked like it was maybe a mile away. And it was like the size of a football field. So it completely changed in my mind. The perception of it completely changed. It's not like it went and rocketed off and changed shape. It was just my perception completely changed of it as I got close. Now, as I drove away from it, and I'll tell you what was going through my mind was I'm going to be late for work. I'm going to be late for work. And I'm like 2 miles away. I'm going, oh my God, I need to quit MUFON. I'm the worst chief investigator that they've ever had. I was chief investigator at the time. I said, I need to put in my walking papers. I'm going to fire myself. But I realized, and I started, and this is when it was a teachable moment where I realized that that I was meant to see that. I was meant to see that happen. That was why I saw this thing. And it changed shape, it changed its distance, and it changed how large it was.
Yeah, it's interesting. to get people's views and how they perceive things and how different it can be from one person to the next. Just like we were talking last night, I was having a conversation with somebody about, if we had different people from different religions all having one sighting, if you ask this person and then you ask this person, they would see one completely different thing than the other. And then if you go off a different religion based, it's even different there, so it can get pretty deep. So
I had a guy who worked at Edwards. He was an experiencer. He kept having visits and he was being taken, and he happened to be of the Muslim faith. And he told me, well, do you know that the Greys, they quote the Quran. They believe in the Quran. Yeah.
Really?
And I had to tell him, well, but Betty Andreasen, very, very famous contactee, case, her aliens came and they quoted the Bible to her because that's what made her comfortable. So I think that they're going to use whatever it is around you that makes you feel a sense of normalcy and a sense of comfort, is they're going to take that on. Almost like a chameleon does. Yep. I don't think that they're lying to us, but I think that is just, they know they don't want us to be horrified and run.
Right. Well, Travis Walton talks about that when he was taken up in the craft. There were little Greys in front of him and he was ready to fight them, and they walked out of the room in the ship, and when they came back in, they were more humanoid figures. So he thought they were regular humans, and then he followed them and
he thought NASA was saving him.
Right. So it's
I find it interesting that in early 91 through 2000, I was living in or actually the beginning of 2000 when I moved up here. I lived in North Carolina, and I lived with my in-laws, my wife and her family at the time, and her brother said that he had an implant in his arm, and he had these gray aliens around his bed, things like that, and I just laughed it off because he was a drunk, he was an alcoholic, so I just figured out you're just telling stories because you're dreaming about whatever you're thinking. I never took him seriously. And he talked about move on, which I just thought that was a made up word, move on, And here I am. I know you guys. I know Mark D'Antonio, and I know a few other people that are pretty big in the move on organization. It's like, why couldn't I take my brother-in-law serious at the time, And I feel kind of bad in the sense that I didn't take him seriously, and now that I've talked with people like Terry Lovelace, who has had the implant in his leg, and we talked with Calvin Parker, and who's had experiences, and now I'm taking it a little bit more seriously. I don't think of it as a joke, and I don't discount. I don't just brush it off anymore. As far as their story, I listen to what people have to say as far as their stories. And now, Earl, you had at least 3 cases you were going to bring.
I had what was that?
Earl had like 3 cases he was going to bring.
I've got some
stories.
There was a question that came in.
Eric joined us. Eric,
how you doing, man?
Hello, how you all doing?
Good,
I see Einstein with some cool shades, man.
Yeah, right
the moose on, man.
Don't let it fool you. Trust me.
He's a state director from Massachusetts.
So we had a question come in that was asking, do I or my co-hosts have suggestions for investigators to watch in 2022? We keep losing giants like Tim Beckley, and I agree. True. Tim was wonderful, and what a loss. I loved Tim, and he had such a great sense of humor, but yet he wasn't afraid of tackling the hard subjects and the fringy stuff, and that's the interesting stuff. I would say, keep your eyes on Jesse Peak over here. He's kind of like a happening guy, and I know he's getting a lot of attention out there, and I think that he's got wonderful cases. I'm going to certainly be writing a book soon. I have so many cases. It's always been like a time factor for me mostly, but I do do a lot of media and stuff, and I try to talk about current cases when I do these shows and stuff. That's the gist of and the reason why I do this. But there's just keep your eyes open. There's good people out there. Just remember, a good ufologist, they're going to have respect for science, but they're also going to have a respect for our limitations in science. They're going to realize that our sciences are not the final word. That science is always an evolving thing, and if something is completely crazy, that it doesn't mean that it's not real.
Absolutely.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, thank you for all that, and thank you.
I appreciate that, Gray. Earl.
Absolutely. We have some amazing young guns in ufology right now. Red Pill Junkie is a great guy. Greg Bishop is wonderful. I follow him. Just a lot of really, good thinkers and people that think differently about the phenomenon, where it's not just nuts and bolts right up front. And that's what I'm looking for. And there's a nuts and bolts element to this phenomenon. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Science is we need scientific principles to look into this phenomena and study it, but we have to also recognize the limitations of our sciences. We're probably looking at craft that have been, technologically created by the races may have been around since, a million years ago. And here we are, it's like our oldest, we're finding out that the Australian Aborigines were probably around 40,000 years ago. They had, language and stuff like that. We keep on seeing that humanity, our intelligence has been around for a long time, but we're still a relatively really, really young race. The guys that are fighting us, I think that they're, 100 times older than our culture. So anyway.
I like that. And then you had the one case you were talking about.
Sure. Well, I have one case I'm still working on right now. It's a really interesting case. It's I never tell names because even if the person doesn't want to remain anonymous, I'm an old retired nurse at this point, and we never give names because of HIPAA law and all that. So, but this case is actually still current. It's looking very much like it's going to get an unknown disposition from me because there's just so many details. There's a lot of other witnesses. I still need to talk with a couple of people here. But if you've ever heard of the Rex Heflin UFO, it was seen back in 1965. It was August 3rd, 1965. And Rex Heflin, he was like a lineman, like you've heard the Glenn Campbell song Wichita Lineman. This guy was a California lineman. He was out near Riverside, California. And you've seen this old photograph. I know I could just probably bring it up on the computer, but it's easier to just... It looked sort of like a straw hat from like from the 1920s or something,
or a disc brake before
it had that black. And he took a group of photographs of this thing. He had a camera with him as he would go and he would check the electrical lines, was part of his job. But he saw this thing hovering in the distance, and he got a photograph of it. It also, he watched it dimensionally. It disappeared, and it left a smoke ring behind when it disappeared. It was traveling dimensionally, and he got photographs of the smoke ring. And this was from 1965. Well, this woman, she was 7 years old in 1965. It's CMS case 119340. I'll read just a little bit of her own narrative. She said, "When I was 7 years old, my family lived in Riverside, California. I was indoors when we heard what sounded like the mother of all sonic booms. It literally shook our house and caused the windows to shake in their frames. I was in the kitchen with my mom when this happened, and my mom yelled, 'Run!' Well, I ran outdoors to see what had caused this. I think the mom wanted her to hide under the bed or something. She ran out the door. The entire neighborhood had gone outdoors. The adults were talking. I could hear what they were saying. The consensus was that it must have been a sonic boom. We did have a nearby Air Force base. People seemed to have calmed down, and all of us kids decided to stay outside and play. We were playing tag when I noticed a beam of light was illuminating the little circle that we kids were standing in. It was very bright, because remember, this was happening at 11 o'clock in the morning. The circle of light was almost like being caught in a spotlight. It had clear-cut edges, and within the beam of light, there were different colors, like the colors of a rainbow. The colors were swirling around in a circle. I put my hands out, and whatever color I saw, it would take over, and then it would move over to the next color, as though it were interacting with me. I finally looked up, and I noticed that the adults weren't moving. They seemed to be like statues. They weren't moving at all. I could see the object. It was at least 30 feet or more across, maybe 50 or 80 feet in the air, just hanging there, slowly moving. And us kids were following along with the light. It was 15 feet ahead of me, and the object was doing this fluttery motion, a back and forth motion as it moved, like a falling leaf. That's a thing. We call that the falling leaf motion in ufology. She said, I ran trying to catch up with the rainbow colors again. It was so much fun. The object kept flying silently, and I followed it down the street until I got to the end of the block, where I stopped, as I wasn't allowed to go beyond our block. That was the rule her parents had. So then I just stood there sadly, and I watched it fly down the street until it was lost in the distance. What's strange is that this object looked exactly like the photograph of the flying saucer that was taken by Rex Heflin, down to every single detail. It looked like it had the little black stripe around the top cupola part of it. She said, well, I looked up the Rex Heflin photograph. I've been very interested in it all my life as soon as I learned about it. And she says that the photograph that was taken by Rex Heflin was taken an hour and a half before they saw this UFO, before she and her friends saw this thing. Now, when she saw this UFO, it caught their attention. It played with them, with kids. Now, we know all these cases very, very well, like the Westall School case from Australia, where the children seem to be interacted with by a flying saucer. This one, it was shining this light down on them. It was iridescent, like a rainbow colors, and it was interacting with them. Now, I'm guessing it sounds almost like it was scanning these kids. And of course, they were following along with it. They were playing with this flying saucer. And it apparently was the Rex Heflin saucer. There were other witnesses. There's other witnesses that are still with us. It's going to be hard to get some of them on record because, well, one of them, her husband is a mayor of a city out here in Los Angeles now. But the other interesting thing about this case was it was either that night or the night after. She said that, she was only 7 years old. She wasn't sure about what night it was afterwards. It's kind of foggy, but she had a gray alien that came and visited her. That she woke up and this was on the end of her bed, and she had other visits. It initiated something in her life where she had visits, and we see this is very common. 7 years of age seems to be the most popular age where people, if they have lifelong contact, it seems like it happens at age 7. I have a Homeland Security agent who his visits began when he was age 7. I have another case that happened out in Ventura County. Same kind of thing. The girl was 7 years old, and she went to her window with all of her sisters, and they saw a black UFO that looked like a record, like an LP record with a little, the little spaces across it, perfectly black, but little white traceries around it. But that seems to be a thing with that age. And but I thought it was the most interesting case, and especially, considering that it has that craft in it. Now, looking back at this woman's heritage, her family owned the property that was the property, and they still own it, I checked into this and I did look into it. Her family owns the property next to Skinwalker Ranch in the Utah Uinta Basin. They still live there. They still own that property. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it was very strange synchronicity that goes along with the case. And we find synchronicities and strange coincidences that happen almost like echoes of cases when we find them like this one. So that's one of the recent cases that I'm working on right now. And it's a good one. And I'm probably not going to close it for another month yet. I've still got at least another month's work to do on it, but it's looking more and more like it's probably going to be an unknown UAP case. And that's a good one.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts? Any?
You think that it's actual craft covering her, or do you think that it's something on a string? Do you think it's
I think it was a craft.
Now, how big was that? That photo really doesn't give it justice.
It was about 30 feet across. Are you having paranormal stuff happen?
Did you see that
behind you? I saw that, and that was sort of
that was
like
weird.
That was very weird. Well, when you talk about this stuff, it tends to get active.
I mean, he was up there. He was up there pretty good. So I don't know.
Not anymore.
Wow.
That's weird.
I
know a lot of people, myself included, a lot of people, we have poltergeist type activity after we've come in contact with strange,
absolutely
anomalous objects. Yeah.
Yep.
Or you can just talk about it and that'll take place.
Yeah.
We're going into their country right now, The crowbar that you were talking about earlier, Charles. The cosmic crowbar is in play, my friend.
There you go.
Well, I hate to duck out on everybody. It was great to be in this, but I've got to get up early and go to work in the morning.
It was so good to meet you, Maria.
Good to meet you, dear. You all behave. Boys, don't keep him up too late.
It's not gonna happen.
Thank you, Maria.
Have a good night,
everybody.
Maria. Have a wonderful Friday night. Wonderful weekend.
All right, good night.
So when I'm doing cases,
Cool case.
So when I'm doing cases, like you said, how the witness describes, some things that aren't really normal with a natural aircraft or any natural phenomenon, but yet it could possibly be a star or a planet or a drone. You might think it is, but because the way the witness describes it, that's the way you go with it, with the sighting, correct? Because that's how I go. I mean, I could look at something in the video and get it down to saying, okay, this is a drone, but because she said it made direct right turns and it went this fast, then it becomes an unknown, and that's how I usually do it. I just want to make sure I'm doing
sure.
It properly,
You gotta look at all angles of these cases, and
right.
I mean, it could work the other way around too. I can have just a popping case, and then I finally see the video that the person has,
right?
And it's the Starlink satellites from Elon Musk.
Right.
That's the new, the big. It was drones for years. That was the main thing people would report. Now it's Vandenberg's, Elon Musk's space shots because they look so weird now.
They do in person.
The retro
really
rockets, just so bizarre looking.
So Lorraine had a question. Alice in Wonderland had a question. Lorraine,
sure.
Lorraine. Why is the Bigfoot often mentioned with blue lights and UFOs, but not dogmen?
Oh, I like dogmen though. I like that phenomena, because it goes back to the wolf, and
right.
Yeah, the whole Skinwalker Ranch thing, and I think that they're two distinct things, but they're related. And so the dogman thing is interesting, and that seems to be kind of a southern, mid-America thing. Deep in the bayou, wherever you have a large forest, you've got weird stuff, right? So yeah, I think that dogmen are I think it's something that's coming through to our world, or it's
Yeah.
something that's in our world that people have just kind of shunned forever and ever, but now is more readily acceptable to people. And the same thing goes for Bigfoot. I mean, there's a reason why Chewie was the space pilot of the Millennial Falcon, right? I'm sure he was supposed to look like the Bigfoot. George Lucas knew about that connection.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they say that the big hairy ones are the pilots.
Oh boy.
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Whether they'll rip your arm off if you beat them in 3D chess, I can't tell you. But
All right.
I think they just looked at it.
yeah.
I like
I love the whole the cryptid thing, because I think that stuff is getting into our world.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, portals are opening up, and that's one thing. Is that we live in a porous universe where things can come through dimensionally, I think, and so a lot of the cryptid stuff that people see is just what came through. Other stuff is just very good at hiding and it is living here with us. But
Yes.
yeah,
I couldn't believe someone else mentioned the same thing that happened to me when I was young. It's this girl, Paula Asteria. She mentioned that she saw, I think she was exaggerating a little too much, but she said a 2-foot frog, but she said bigger than a rabbit. And that's how I described mine. When I was a frail little kid walking through some reeds by a cottage we were visiting, a frog in the corner of my eye, a giant frog, took one leap, and you heard it go into the reeds. You could hear that. And then I don't know why it didn't scare me that much, but I started looking around and there was nothing there. A giant frog jumped through a porthole and then back out.
well, it's like the fish that they found that was supposedly extinct for ever and ever and ever, and then they started seeing them coming up on the shore. The armored fish. I forget the exact name, but
Seal ant.
there you go. Thank you so much. And that's a real thing, and it was considered not real for a long time. And just the stuff that we've sadly seen go extinct in our own lifetimes, like the Tasmanian tiger, and hopefully, people eventually, every now and then somebody in Tasmania will see one of these creatures still, and we are hoping that they're just hiding really well, and that hunters aren't getting them. But I don't know, buffalo was nearly extinct at one time, and now they're plentiful. So
That's right.
who knows?
Bring on the mastodons and the dodos. Bring on the mastodons and the dodos.
Yes, hey, we're gonna have them. They're getting it there.
Anything we have a good DNA sample for, I think eventually we'll be able to restore.
I think so too. Do you think it's a good idea, or do you think?
Well, I'm not going that far. I'm not. Because
that's the old.
Individually, we have no idea what the biological ecosystem that would be required to support a mastodon really is.
That's
we
true.
Can guess, but we have no idea.
Especially T-Rex, because that we're crunchy snacks to those guys. Yummy.
How about Megalodon?
Hey, it's just a big chicken.
Savory and crunchy.
There was a good video made by some Russian kids that they were tracking through some snow and showed on the other side of this tree or something what looked like a dog man, the way it was hunched over, and then it took off. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but that was a really cool video.
I've seen good video of the skinwalker of it was out there for a couple of weeks, and then they tore it down, and now it's just like, God, I should have just why didn't I just video it with my stupid phone?
Yeah,
Off of
download it. Yeah,
frickin'
I've done that before.
It was just on Facebook or something, but it was real. I mean, I recognized the ridge, it was that ridge that runs alongside of the ranch. And now, of course, I've I know some of the actors that were there. When I say actors, I mean the people that were there. And all I know is that it looked like there was a human that was standing there. Then they kind of hunched down, and then you watch this become into this creature that leapt and leapt from the ridge to the next ridge, and it was just, you saw it taken off. God, I wish that video was still out there, but it's not. So this is one that it wasn't like the Tic Tac. Maybe we'll see it again. Maybe they'll re-release it, but that was pretty good evidence. I thought it did not look like CGI. It was true to where the video was from. I recognized the ridge there. So I don't know. It's I think it's a thing.
I have Bigfoot video from like one of the big shows that they showed back in the 90s, and I'm surprised I've never seen it again because it's so good. And luckily, I'm pretty sure I found the videotape in my drawer that's been sitting there for over 20 years, and I can't wait to see if it's still on there.
Cool, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to have.
They looked exactly like Patterson from Patterson film.
Wow, there you go. And we've all seen that one video with the guy just trundling along. I love that. It's like the only thing that's missing is his lunchbox.
Right. Yeah.
It's just their 6-pack, right?
Yep.
It's just wonderful. But that's kind of right now the best that they have.
Yeah.
But,
do you know what really freaked me out though?
What?
The Sierra sounds.
Oh,
have you heard those?
Yeah, I've heard them. Yeah.
Those were interesting, especially for that time frame. To be able to do something like that all the way up there, and the different frequencies of the voice.
Yes. It didn't sound human.
No, not at all.
And the knocking stuff on the trees and all that. I mean, you hear
they were communicating.
Yeah, you hear the same stuff put on. That people report from case to case.
Right.
Now, am I a Bigfoot investigator? No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not. But do you know what? It is. It's possibly something that has to do with this phenomena, though. It is phenomenology. So I am. I do have an open mind about it, and I don't think everybody's lying about this stuff. So there's something going on there. It's like there's something going on with the skinwalker and the dogman stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Maybe the magic is returning. I mean, for a long time, things became very nuts and bolts. But I have one friend that says, well, all the universes are consolidating again. The timelines are coming together and they're all kind of becoming this one. And maybe that's why all this stuff is finally popping up. I don't know. Could be. Sounds good. That's out of my pay range, but I don't know. Could be.
Some kind of consensus reality.
Well, I think that there are other worlds that are like our world that are sort of alongside of it. It's the whole fractal universe thing. If you're ever played with fractal software, everybody knows I'm like a big Arthur Clarke fan. I'm always quoting him, but he called the Mandelbrot fractal the thumbprint of God. That if you play with fractal software, especially the Mandelbrot fractal, rather Juliet set, but the Julia set, you see repeated patterns, but they're all slightly different from each other, just very minuscule changes.
And it seems to go for infinite, it just keeps going.
It's infinite, and it keeps going. And Clarke believed that our universe was built on the Mandelbrot set fractal. And I kind of agree. You can see, fern, palm fronds and ferns and animals. You can see the Buddha, is the initial, the original Mandelbrot set shows up like, you see the big body and the little head and the little
Right.
arms and legs. It's
Right.
it's the classic Buddha with his praying bowl,
Yep.
and you zoom into that, and it becomes a whole universe unto its own. And I think that our universe that we live in is like that. So we have parallel worlds and
Yeah.
parallel Earths, and there's probably parallel Jesse Peaks out there, and
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that and perhaps at the end of days or whatever, that it all consolidates, and there's your your
Right.
universe.
Yeah, interesting.
I wrote an article in the Mandelbrot crop circle. That was pretty interesting. as
Oh
well.
yeah. Oh, that was wonderful. Oh my God, I love that one.
I was convinced by my friend to relook at crop circles because I was sure that they were just pounded by boards. And
Some are.
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
looking at the sheer size of them, it got me really wondering. And I'm pretty much to the point where I think it's alien in nature. I think a lot of it.
Yeah, it's a little signpost or directional, like a
charts,
GPS
navigation
thing.
charts.
Yeah. That's
You can
what I've
tell
heard.
Linda Moulton Howe did a lot of good work with showing
Yes,
how the
I
real
have that
ones are
book.
compared to the fake ones.
Time and place stamps.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
At one
And you
time,
can tell by the way that the nodes, they call them,
right.
where
They're
it's
blown
bent.
out.
Yes, when it's crushed, you can see the little crush marks. It isn't even, but it's almost like they were hovered over by a giant microwave
Right.
oven and melted down into that shape when you see a
Right.
real crop circle. So that's
Because
the
those
difference.
nodes can only explode like that from extreme heat. The way
Yes,
they're
right.
blown out the way they are. So
Right.
I mean,
It's a totally different look to them.
Right.
and that old video that shows orbs going around a field as one is created.
That's an interesting video.
Yeah, you
Very,
revisit
very.
it, and then you're thinking, well, now wait a minute, maybe that's real, because I was convinced myself that it wasn't really as well. But
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I do have a couple other cases if you guys want me. I don't know how long we're going to go on here tonight, but
we're probably going to go 2 or 3 more hours.
No, don't do that to me. My wife will have your head. But,
Eric is always trying to push the limit there.
Because I get you late.
I can see us going another 45 minutes, maybe. Okay. All right. Is that work?
Eric's a young guy.
we usually do it about until 11:30, then 12 o'clock.
Yeah, really? 11:30.
California time. Yep.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Well, I'm
So that's
Eastern.
like 2
so
more
it's-
hours. Okay, you
so-
guys. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
it's Eastern
you go
time.
deep then.
It's 11:30.
Well, maybe I
here.
should. Maybe I should hold on to the case till later. I don't know.
Oh no, go ahead and share.
Go
I
ahead,
got
yeah.
one here that I haven't shared on the radio or any podcast yet. That's a pretty cool one.
All right.
This
First time,
one,
everybody.
okay, this is a commercial pilot, and I always love it when we get one in from a
Yes.
commercial pilot. Usually they're either retired or they're, I have another case that, as a commercial pilot, just became a house husband, new baby, and so he's no longer flying. And so he said, well, now I don't care if they ground me. And so he brought his case in. This guy is just become retired, but this happened back in 1999. You're gonna notice I like the historical UFO cases.
Me too.
Some people hate them,
No.
They want what was seen yesterday, but I just love the whole picture and the continuity of it. And this is not a new phenomenon. It's been going on forever. So anyway, so this guy, I'm just going to read. I'll read the synopsis. This was my synopsis of the case from CMS 114549, and it did get unknown disposition. There was so much evidence on this case, and you don't always get that. This guy just had everything because he's a professional, and then he wrote everything down for his own personal edification. Because he's still trying to understand it himself. But it says the witness is a commercial pilot flying a Piper Chieftain, taking a couple who wish to remain anonymous on a hunting trip. While flying over Chena Lake, California, a bright light lit up the entire sky. The witness believed that it was an airliner with landing lights that was about to hit him. He was horrified. He watched the object change position 7 times then before the object swooped down and appeared to land or crash, disappearing below his plane. The passengers had a pair of binoculars with them, and they stated that the object was circular, a sphere, with a row of lights circling the center. A witness believes the object was ionizing the air, that this was causing the brightness that people were experiencing. This is his own words. I'm going to take out anything that where you guys would be able to recognize him, because I just keep my people anonymous. But everything's there. I mean, it's just we had one case where I think Doug Wilson was thinking it was too good to be true. It was one of the 5 MUFON cases that were talked, where we talked about them at the symposium last year. I guess it was one of the 5 cases of the year is what they considered. But, it seemed too good to be true. It's like an MD, his psychologist wife, they have like a mental health radio show and all this. And it's like, well, we need to see the proof, and it's like, well, here it is. Yeah, sure. And so I was able to give them all the websites and the licensure and everything. And they're just like, whoa, So, and this guy has the same. I've seen all of the credentials, and the provenance of this case is wonderful. He said, I was descending at night from 9,000 degrees north of China Lake. And suddenly, a very bright light, it lit up the whole sky. I thought it was an airliner with landing lights on. I thought it was about to hit me at my 300 position. I got ready to take evasive action because I thought that there was going to be a midair collision. I realized that it wasn't getting any closer as I descended towards 7,000 degrees. During the 5-minute observation, it changed directions 3 times in less than a second. It eventually shot straight down to the ground, and it disappeared. I asked the couple after we landed what they had seen. They told me that they watched the whole incident. They told me that they had looked at it through a pair of binoculars. They saw a bright light with a ring of lights around it. I asked if they would give me a written statement about the event, but they refused. They were badly shaken by the whole thing. I marked all the details about the incident on my sectional aviation chart. I later calculated that it descended near a 585-degree mountain next to a place called Panamint Springs, which is about 24 nms from my flight. See sectional chart. I've got a sectional chart. I have all this stuff in this case file, which he provided, which was really wonderful. I had 2 problems that bothered me. One, there was no place at the spot where it landed except a small private resort called Panamint Springs. It consisted of a motel, cabins, RV, tent campsites, a restaurant, and a gas station. Answer, many years later, I discovered very close to it is Blue Fire, a U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at Junction Ranch, which is rumored to be a proving ground for black drone projects. How can you look at a blinding light with binoculars and not get blinded? Answer, I discovered the blinding light could have been caused by a very high magnetic field that ionized the surrounding air. Here's my actual interview with him. I had worked as a commercial pilot for 35 years. I recently retired, and that's why I feel comfortable in reporting my sighting now. I don't want to be grounded, but now it doesn't matter. That pilots are often grounded for doing as much, or else I would have reported this years ago to you guys. It's one of those things that I've returned to in my memory over and over. The object was spherical. It had a line of lights around the center, and though it traveled many times faster than the speed of sound, it did not create a sonic boom. Marker of a UFO right there, as they will travel faster than the speed of sound and not create a sonic boom. You know that the Tic Tac object, it was traveling at Mach 18 times the speed of sound. Not a single sonic boom from that sucker. Not one. didn't turn into it should have turned into a fireball. Just like, you watch the space capsules, there's a reason why they had the tiles on the space shuttle, right? And even with the tiles, if they screwed up, that's how we lost a couple of shuttles.
That's right.
But anyway, the object made 160-degree turns on a dime. Without slowing down, it should have caused fireballs. Anybody that knows anything about physics knows this. No pilot could live through such a maneuver, yet this thing was definitely under intelligent control. I watched it. I saw it with my own eyes. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. And if I hadn't been watching it, and if I hadn't averted it, it would have hit us. My disposition on this case was witness states that he didn't report his UAP sighting until now for fear of being grounded. The witness has done trigonometric calculations of the speed of the object he witnessed. The speed was 1,656 miles per hour, faster than any aircraft known to man. The witness was no nonsense, and he was matter of fact about his sighting. He had all of his charts gathered that he had for his own personal edification over the years. He had everything to lose in making this report and making up such a story, and yet he told us his story, and thank you so much for doing so. And that was one of my wonderful pilot cases. And any of you guys out there, if you're a commercial pilot and you have a similar story, boy, I'd sure love to hear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This guy is so brave, coming forward and telling us about this. And that's not, I'm sorry, I don't think that we have drones that can go 1,658 miles an hour.
No.
And we don't have drones that can do that and not cause a sonic boom. Right. If we do, we have to wonder where that technology came from.
I think it all is related to using gravity propulsion. We're going to be amazed if in our lifetimes we're able to see them use gravity propulsion, that we're going to learn a whole lot of new things that are just amazing. Like it's traveling through space in a different way than we think it is.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah.
We see once we have those quantum crowbars, we can go ahead and carve them into like quantum propellers, all kinds of things.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I've always wondered if what they do is perhaps they create sort of like their own little universal bubble that they bring with them, that they create a little miniature universe, and they travel within that. And so it doesn't affect our physics.
Affect the world. You can't push anything through air at 18 times the speed of sound.
Yeah.
Unless it creates a plasma.
Yeah.
It's physics. That's just basic
physics.
You can't do that. You can't do that in 3D or 4-dimensional reality as we look at it. There's a trick.
Newton even knew this. It's not quantum physics. This is just plain old Newtonian physics. It's energy compensation, and it goes along with the same. It's in the same sentence as one object cannot dwell in the same position, occupy the same space as another. It's in that exact same treaty,
Yes.
Yeah, and
it's the basis of physics as we perceive it.
Yeah.
So
here we have pilots.
This is some physics not as we perceive it. So it's something else is going on. We don't know. As
a commercial
exactly
pilot for
do
36 years.
You and I don't know how to do it.
No.
But somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
Something is doing it.
Something's doing it. Yeah. And that, and we hope it's not Russia. We hope it's not China. I don't think it's Russia. I don't think it's China. I don't think it's us. I really don't think that we have that technology yet. I could be wrong.
As a general,
but I don't think so.
I don't know.
Where do you stand on Bob Lazar?
I don't throw him out. I wonder a little bit about his doctorate sometimes, but I know that my mom worked for, my mom got people that were special talents to work for Northrop and Lockheed and stuff. She was a headhunter. And so I think that Bob Lazar may have been a very, very smart guy with a different way of looking at things.
Absolutely.
And that they maybe hired him to because they were throwing stuff against the wall to see what would stick. Whether he was actually a physicist or not, I'm not sure. He would actually be able to go and retake his exam and challenge the exam and regain his PhD if he wanted to do that, and he hasn't done it, and it makes me wonder why not. So I do wonder
with his
whether
reputation.
Well, I know. Well, I don't know. Now they found him in the Lawrence Livermore phone book. He's in there.
Yes.
So we know he was working for Lawrence Livermore, and that's not, that's not liver and onions. That's Lawrence Livermore.
I fear that he might have been used as a scapegoat.
A tool.
To be, a story to be pushed out there, because his whole time of his turnaround that he was brought in and read through the programs and then dumped back out for whatever reasons.
I don't think
maybe that was another exercise like the aliens.
I think it was what it is.
Picking up dinner at the base.
Maybe
it strikes me as it strikes me as the same kind of exercise. Really, we're going to throw this story out there and see what happens.
Yeah,
how do people react?
I don't know. I mean, then again, his whole thing was that that he was shot at one point, and then he went public in order to save his own life, and I understand that.
May have done so.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me right there.
Yes.
And I know people that knew him. I know a friend of mine took him to his physics class here at Caltech.
If they ran an op and wanted to scare a whole bunch of people from thinking who they thought might be thinking about talking, do you think that his little show would have been worth doing? It's just another way. It's just another way of twisting the story around.
Well, they're looking at how we're reacting to stuff too, and I think that's our reaction is of interest to them.
Absolutely.
That would explain this weird case that I had come in where this woman was, she brought the food to the guard shack, and out comes an alien, and this guy, looked totally different than the other alien was seen in California at a guard shack. So, but the same story more or less. As she talked to this thing, it looked like it had big goggles, and it was shining a blue light on the food. And what went through her mind was, before she saw the face of this thing, she said, "Oh, what are they think I'm going to poison them? Are they scanning the food or something?" I mean, she was very, very, just very, very normal reactions like you and I would have in an extraordinary situation. And then she looked at the guy, and he was stumbling for words, but she saw these two big goggle-like eyes, and his face kept shifting. His face was like flat, and there was a slit. And she saw him trying to smile with a slit. And then it seemed to shift and look more human at one point, right? Like it kept on, like he wasn't quite able to get the look that she was going to go with and accept.
Maybe
the others,
a little.
As a shapeshifter, or he was at least shapeshifting in her mind,
or or using a technology that he or she or it, whatever it was, was not really comfortable with.
Why a military base? Why a food delivery person? What the hell? and this is two cases, they're exactly Same. The other guy, the alien looked like a gray alien crossed with a reptilian. And then it looked at him, it glowered at him and had like this ugly, hateful face. And then that was when he became combative, and he had to leave or he was going to like kick this thing, you know. Two cases, 2 years apart from each other. The other case, I never ever talked about it. I never made anything of it because it was just like this one of a kind thing. It was just weird.
Were they both at night by any chance?
No, they were like in the early evening. The sun was still out. The sun was still out. Magic hour,
Right.
magic, dark magic.
Where do you stand on Skinny Bob?
Oh,
well.
Skinny Bob. I think that he was a
It's been
good
debunked.
CGI. He was a wonderful. But I love Skinny Bob. I want to get the tattaoo. You know, I mean, I do.
Just realize a few things. I dug into that. First of all, I think it's real. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
If it's not real, it's a very good fake. But
Yeah.
all these layers that these people are able to say that this layer was added, that layer. What people aren't realizing is if you just pay attention to what he gives you, the information he gives you, this, and go back on it, you realize that this was originally on 8 or 10 millimeter, whatever they call it, film, right? That's what the clicking and all. Okay. It was then transferred to videotape. He's describing that these are on videotapes, and he's describing exactly what we all got, the 180-minute videotapes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was transferred to YouTube. And so by that time, you got to realize that, yes, dust could have accumulated in these transfers, and the end product is going to be very washed out. And so, you know, when someone like Ben Hansen, who's on a show Fact or Faked, brings it up and just claims that it's that everybody's claiming that it's CGI or animatronics, it's funny how he couldn't do that, just prove that, and enjoyed having the picture in the background in his show. But no, you can tell.
I think the artist actually.
Yes, he came forward.
Finally.
Right.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to know this. Okay.
I'm so sorry because I love that video too.
I want to see this. I want to see.
He did interviews and he put out videos.
We'll have to look for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's like the alien autopsy video. It's the same thing, you know. That one has
I
been
agree.
sadly debunked, you know.
But no, you're saying that, and I'm believing you. But I have to see that for myself. Please,
Okay.
if you can anything.
Sure.
Anything.
We'll have to look for that, but I know it's out there because I saw a couple of videos.
I'm sure if
on
you search YouTube and you search,
I was very
creator,
disappointed myself because I really loved it.
So you both saw something that definitely.
Yeah, I think that one is actually CGI.
Right.
And he explains how he did it, you know.
Yeah.
Because like Nick Pope comes on and feels he can just tell us that it's CGI with no proof whatsoever. But I want to find that because
they used this film clip that was available as like film from that time period that you could put video into. We could work your CGI into that. I'm not an IT guy or a CGI artist, so I don't know. You know, I do digital art, but it's pretty, you know, I mean, I do it with apps and stuff, you know, paint apps and stuff on my iPad. So I'm certainly a CGI artist of any sort. But this is what I heard. Yeah, that it looked. Yeah. I mean, it was explained.
You remember seeing someone claiming to be the artist?
Yes. Oh yeah, no. The artist came forward, and
I got to dig for that.
He actually wanted the credit for it, you know, at this point. But I mean, that's something that we get at MUFON. I don't know, Jesse. Do you get any CGI stuff? We get it every now and then. We're near Hollywood.
We do get it, but I have not personally. But I know we get it all the time. We had a meeting a couple months back about CGI stuff and how to deter it and figure it out.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
It's usually too good to be true. I mean, I got one CGI thing and where it's this little girl is dancing and it's like this beach house, right? And it was produced. You know, the camera is looking out the window, the little girl's dancing, and then the camera zooms in on something that's outside over the ocean. And it was, you know, it was a UFO coming out of the water and hovering and doing all this stuff. And it was like one of those things where it's like, well, gee, wouldn't this be nice? But I have a funny feeling about it. So I did some detective work and I found the person. I found two different things. I found the person's online resume that said CGI realer than real life, you know, and it had her information. It had like a couple of examples of her work. And then I looked her up on Facebook and I found the night that she put in her MUFON report. And you could, she was sitting around a table with a couple of buddies doing bong loads. they were enjoying God's green earth, you know. And I think that was sort of like the smoky courage that she got to put in her report.
Right.
So it was very easy to call it it was but you know, it's like we get those every now and then. Not as often as you'd think, but every now and then we do, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sad.
And when you get these new iPhone 13s coming out and they're showing commercials how you can make a movie so easy with them now, it happens more and more, and they're making it easier for it. The apps they have out that you can fake an alien invasion now and make a video. So
I've got an app where I got a little alien that can do a hopscotch or whatever, you know. He's like walking around our house and stuff, you know.
That's cool.
That was cool, but you know, I'm not using it too much because it scares me, you know, that it's going to ruin the field of ufology. Yes. I mean, we have to become detectives more than ever before, Jesse, which
Absolutely.
kind of sucks.
It does suck. It really does.
Well, yeah.
And I'm praying that I don't get any. You know what I mean? I'm like, please don't send me the hoaxes. You know,
get them.
Because then I think about it. And I'm like, I will figure it out. And then I have to tell the person, like, did you really, you know, you hoax, we got you, you know. And
we had one.
It's like
we had one here in LA, and I'll even name names. I'll name him. You know,
that's fine.
Sue me if he wants. Robert Bingham. He's called the UFO Summoner, and he gets like a little crowd. Like I went to his things where he had 100 people on this hilltop, Griffith Park. And I wanted to check this guy out because I kept getting cases from people that were following him, and they were all phony. They were all, you know, they were calling them biological UFOs, but they were elaborate balloon animals where they would take helium balloons and put little octopus, you know, tendrils and so I wanted to see what he was doing. So I went out to one of his little get-togethers on this hilltop, but I waited off to the side, and I waited, and I saw an airplane fly in, you know, and the airplane flew into, it was like a little Piper Cub, and it flew to the clouds that were there. Waited until there was like a nice bank of clouds, and it went there, and then. That was it. You know, I saw like a couple of, it looked like balloons or something that were floating out from the cloud. At that point, I went to their meeting, and he was getting all meditative, and he was saying, they're here. And telescopes were coming out. These guys had Celestron 13s and stuff. You know, it's just like, oh God, give that to me. You know, as I look at Saturn, you know, at Jupiter, you know, but no, they were using it to look at balloon animals and so this airplane came over the crowd, and he actually had the balls to go and he tilted he waved his wings as he flew over. And there's a guy standing next to me. I said, hey, what's that plane? And he said, oh, that's the Men in Black. We see them every time we do this. Every time we do this, they're here. Like, oh. Okay. And so we kind of figured out what was going on. And so I went and I met the perpetrator of this hoax, and I handed him my card, and I said, I just want you to know that I'm going to call you out in public. You know, that I see how you fraudulently did this. And to tell you the truth, I hate to see you having 100 people on this hilltop looking at balloon animals.
Right.
How much money are you getting for this?
Ego.
So that was a hoax. That was most of the hoaxes we get are keystroke / hoaxes, where it's just meant to fool MUFON. But this guy was trying to fool the public.
And he probably is making
still
money
doing
for
it. He's still doing it.
Right.
No, Alien Con will have their the last Alien Con before COVID went and messed everything up.
Right.
He had his little thing going on like a block away, and we saw the balloons floating around, and people are pointing at them. I'm going, that's a hoax. That's Robert Bingham. I don't even have to look it up. I know exactly who's doing that. And yeah, indeed, he's down the street. He's a block away. Yeah, that's what we have to deal with. It's like
I'm gonna
BS.
search the hell out of Skinny Bob reveal.
Yes.
Right.
Hey,
Now,
if you can prove Skinny Bob is real, I'm all with you.
I don't think that's going to happen. But if someone proves it's fake, what I'm looking at now is much more important. Now,
I still want the tattoo.
Both feel you saw something. So
I don't feel. I know. I know.
I know. We did read the article.
If I can't find that, though, can you please work with me? Because you're telling me that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Absolutely. I wish I was wrong about that one because I love the Skinny Bob.
Yeah, I thought it was done very well.
Very well. It's one of those things like the Serpo case, and there's a bunch that I wish were real and probably aren't.
I just found this video, Skinny Bob, The Truth Revealed, Paranormal Explained, number 28, and it's a bunch of clowns standing in front, and they're just it's just ridiculous. It's all the way through it. They think it's funny. So
it's not funny at all. It's unfortunate.
I think it's funny. But so I'm gonna do what I can. But to make that claim, I'm gonna try and get you to back up what you're saying.
Yeah, sure. I'm good with that, Eric. We'll exchange information afterwards. Like, I don't know if you're on Facebook or if you just shoot your email off to me and I'll find it for you. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I hate being the bearer of bad news. I feel like I'm the biggest buzzkill.
No.
Sometimes.
Put aside. Let me just say what I do is I put aside ego. I don't care. I want the truth. Me too. I don't care.
I've had to put a few things away that I loved, that were just unfortunately. The other one is the Serpo story. I wish it was real, but it keeps looking like it was made up.
Oh, that's
where we had the exchange program, and I know that even Spielberg liked that one. He put that one, as Close Encounters, but it looks like that was probably an op. Well, here's the thing is that, the military has done ops, the Pentagon in particular, for forever and ever and ever. I think that they know that we're not alone. They know we're not alone. They know unequivocally that we're not alone. But their biggest horror is what if this gets out and how is the public going to react? And they're always questioning, how is the public going to react? Will it be the collapse? Will everybody make a rush to the banks and
sure,
hit the bomb shelters and that, and so they're like testing us and unfortunately that stuff is out there and it's not always true. Unfortunate.
Current societal situations would tend to indicate that we're not quite as together and as sane as we'd like to think we are.
Oh, I know. Do you remember?
There's a segment of society that would just totally lose their fucking minds.
You remember, like Independence Day, you had the people on top of the LA library building that are having the party and
Yes.
take me and all.
Those they
and
are
then you have the
relatively
people that
sane compared to what we would actually get.
I know.
From what I've
And
seen,
then we have the people where the aliens are among us, and oh my God, they're
Yep.
taking my
They'd be,
DNA. And
they'd be
like,
cannibalizing other people because
oh
they
yeah,
were a
I
little
know.
weird.
from what
you
I've
know?
experienced, I believe I'm completely right when I say that if aliens show themselves, there is a very large percentage of the population who will insist that we kill each and every single one of them dead.
Yeah, they'll think
Yeah.
they're demons.
Yep.
That's what the Pentagon,
At least.
the
No, they just
problem
don't
ran
trust me.
into with
just won't
Skinwalker
trust me.
Ranch and ATIP and all that stuff. What they ran into, the big problem they ran into, and you have to remember that this was budgeted. It was Harry Reid, the Senator Majority Leader we just lost, that he believed this was a real thing, and he kicked $22 million into doing the investigations into this field, and they made him stop. They ended some of these programs because a lot of the big mucky mucks in the military were afraid that it was the devil, you know. And I, what do you say to that? I mean, they thought that, rock and roll was from the devil too, I rather like rock and roll.
Whatever the
Beethoven was
Nephilim-
from the devil in his day. Yeah, Paganini, the Italian violinist was from the devil.
Well,
So-
lower intellects do not trust higher intellects. They're very suspicious always.
Yeah,
Would rather just kill you.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. All right.
Oh,
Well, is everyone ready
I think
to?
we're
Yeah,
coming,
I just yawned.
coming to the natural end.
Oh yeah, we're
of
down to
another
about the last
wonderful
hour, right?
evening.
Yeah,
Ron, did you
Very
get
cool.
a letter?
I didn't get one yet. No.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
so we have
I
to
did
sing
send it out like Monday.
Happy
Yes.
Birthday to Ron now. Everybody, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ron. Happy birthday to you.
Another
Like
year.
Maria said, I
Hey,
ain't
more.
Marilyn Monroe. Sorry about that.
Maybe
But
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to see me try to be. So,
We'll work on that for next year.
Yeah.
Ah,
Well, it was
Oh.
last year that we had a big bash.
We'll get a
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
fake. A deep fake Marilyn Monroe for next year.
Yeah.
that would be cool. I want to see that. I want to see that.
We'll probably be able to do it on our phones.
Oh, that'd be great.
Probably. You have the iPhone 13, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
iPhone 13.
You can
that's
have
right.
the alien can sing to, Happy birthday. I know. There you go. Jesse's got one too. It's going to be a duo. Simon and Garfunkel, to you. Happy birthday, dear human. All right.
Good way to end the show.
Yeah. All right, you guys. I had fun. Have me back
Earl,
sometime.
it's
Okay.
been glad to have you, and we'll be looking forward to having you back soon.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Okay. I enjoyed it.
Jesse,
You're always
always glad you're here.
Yeah,
No
good
problem.
job.
Jesse's
Ron,
a good.
happy
Jesse's a
birthday,
mensch, man.
dude.
He's a mensch. He's a good guy.
Thank you for everyone.
Thank you.
Eric.
You as well, Earl.
Thank
All
you
right.
so
Learned a lot
much.
from you, man.
I'm a mensch. Cool. All right, you guys. Love you
All right,
much. I'll
guys.
talk to you next time, huh? Happy
All right,
birthday,
Earl.
Ron.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Okay.
All right.
So we're all jumping off.
Hit that. Yeah, hit
Get
that
it
end
away.
button.
Good night, guys.
Everyone else.
So Earl, I mean, wow, I said Earl.